everybody. I thought today I would give you a tour of one of my more recent sketchbooks. This isn't the one I'm currently working in, this is the one just before, and perhaps every time I finish a sketchbook I will give you a tour, show you what I've been hashing out and working through, and that sort of thing. So this one, I always write the date on the outside of my sketchbooks just so I know when it was started, and yeah, just so I can keep them in order, look back on things and know exactly when I was working on it. So yeah, this is started in March and I finished it a while ago because my most recent one I started in April, which is actually taking me a while to work through this one, but anyway, you'll see that soon. So started this one in March and I was actually trying to figure some new stuff out. I wasn't sure where I was at with my work at the time. I'd just come off the back of a couple of big illustration projects which were kind of easy to be getting on with because they kind of drew on things that I'd already worked on in the past. So I was just kind of rehashing those ideas and turning them into new stuff. So I came out the end of those and I wasn't really sure where I was going, what I was doing, and I was kind of been skirting around the idea of starting up my fine art practice a bit more, but I hadn't really got going with it. So this sketchbook is really kind of detailing the start of that, which I think is quite interesting. So a long time ago, I say a long time, a year or so ago, I was also in a bit of a block. They happen every now and then. I'm sure if you're a creative person, you understand that feeling. And to get past this block, I just made these stream of consciousness drawings in my sketchbook where I didn't really think too hard about what I was putting down or where I was taking the work. I just kind of worked on it and just went for it. So this is one of those. I decided to start with one of those with my pens and my pencils and just draw what came to mind. And I'd had mushrooms in my mind for a while, so I started drawing mushrooms. And more often than not, in these little drawings, a little house will pop up. And then there was these shapes that I'd sort of seen in decorative art that just kind of crept in. And yeah, just kind of playing with things. One of the projects I'd worked on had these like wonky stars in, and I really enjoyed doing those. So I sort of brought those in. And on the whole, I was like, oh, it's come out okay. So I'll just keep going with that and just see what happens. But it didn't kind of work out that way. This one, yeah, I did these flowers. I didn't like them. I was just playing with my big markers, not really sure at all where it's going. I just ended up wanting to sit in the garden with the sun on my face. But I said, sun on my face, I've just got to keep going. Turn the page, start something new. And again, I drew this hand and this rain cloud, just wanting to, I think I was kind of getting into the feeling of just wanting to be in nature, be in the world and absorb it. Yeah, and so kind of the idea of being in the rain and letting it soak into my skin. And I do remember doing this, I kind of did it and then went away from it a bit, and then came back to it and I was like, I'm not leaving the page just with a hand and some rain on it. So I just kind of played around a bit more with these leaf shapes, which are quite nice. And then I drew these little weird bugs. This one says, I keep feeling like the sun is shining and when I look up, it's not. And this one's saying, what does that mean? And I kind of feel like that's kind of, I don't know where that came from, but maybe it was a bit of a metaphor for where I was at with my work at the time. Who knows? So that was another unsuccessful page. But then that's what sketchbooks are for. You just have to keep pushing through, and that's why I think it's interesting to see these again compared to where my work is now. So you just keep going when you're in a block. And then another one, and then I started messing about with texture a bit more, using water with my brush pens, just making more random shapes. Again, a bit more stream of consciousness, drawing upon things that I'd seen, that I liked, and still working through. But again, this page kind of, there's more to it that I like. So I decided to take these fronds and bird, and I came out with this, which I've actually scanned in and sent to my agent because I was really pleased with it. I loved the texture on the bird that I did with my pens, and the composition is nice. It's funny how you can go, I think I did all this in about 2 days, maybe 3 days, from like really hating what you're doing and then coming out with something that is actually worthwhile. But again, still it's not really, wasn't really going in the direction I wanted it to for my fine art. So again, I just kept going. And I came back to what I know and what I can do, which is just creating this pattern of flowers, which again I'm pleased with, but it's not where I want my work to be going at the moment. It feels like a bit of a safety blanket, this page, like I wasn't sure what I was doing, so I fell back to what I know I can do well, and sometimes that's okay. Like that was more of a confidence boosting exercise for me than anything else. And then things started to get interesting and good, and going back to this one where I was making these textures, I decided that I really liked that as a background, so I decided to make some backgrounds, some textured backgrounds, and I actually did scan these in before I drew them because I really liked them on their own and I was worried about ruining them, which is a constant fear when you spend time preparing something, you're just going to mess it up. So again, I went back to kind of the shapes I know, but things felt new and fresh because I was working on these new, more textured backgrounds, and I was trying to bring more texture into the things that I was drawing as well. So pencil features quite heavily here. I'm moving away. I want to move away from that sort of flat look that my work has had for quite a long time, and just bring more texture into it and a more painterly feel to it. So I was really pleased with that. Moving on, I did some more of these textured backgrounds. I did them with paint markers and water, and just really smooshed things around on the page, which was really fun. I really liked that. And again, not knowing what to draw, I kind of just went for it, just not really thinking too hard. And there were some bits on here that I really liked. A year or so ago, again, I saw a white pheasant, an albino pheasant, which was really exciting. And I'd drawn him before, and I thought I want to draw him again, just as something to just keep me going, keep me moving on. Which, when you're in that kind of, that's not the flow state, but it's kind of this kind of creative river. It's really important just to keep going and just keep making work, even if it's not exactly going towards something final at this stage, but just to keep bashing those ideas out and putting them down. And sometimes subject matter is something I get really stuck on, so going back to what I'd drawn before really helps me to just keep that momentum up. So the white pheasant, he came out again, but these were new. These were little kind of new shapes, and they were inspired by the magnolia that was blooming in my garden at the time. It's like a star magnolia. It's very pretty. So I did more, and by now I'd read a page in The Women Who Run With the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and it was all about creativity and what you should do in a blog. And one of the lines was, as an artist, you need to sit on a throne on top of a jackass and spill rubies from one's mouth, meaning that you just have to just put everything down, whether it's good or not. And I found that, sorry if you can hear noise in the background, it's because I've got the door open and I think there's a flail mower and lots of birds going on at the moment. But it's kind of nice, it's a sunny day here. So anyway, where was I? Yeah, sit on a throne on top of a jackass and spill rubies from one's mouth, and just keep pouring out those ideas, and eventually the really good stuff will start coming. And this is where I'm kind of going with my fine art ideas, which I will talk about more, but I'm basically thinking about how we need to pay more attention to these beautiful structures, like how we're humbled by vast landscapes and the bigger elements of the world, but really these little primula that come back every year under whatever circumstances, they're always there. They're quite humbling, I think. And yeah, I'm still digging into those ideas. I will talk about them more, but this is where this kind of basic idea of getting down low into the undergrowth came from. And here I'm still bringing them the more illustrative elements. I like this little bunny. I always like a bit of a fluorescent sun. And again, horses. I haven't drawn a horse for ages, and I love horses, so I brought that one back in. Again, a similar thing to the white peacock, just having something to draw around, and something that I know I can draw, just to keep things moving forward. You might recognise this one if you watched my previous video. This is the sketch that precursed the painting that I did. Again, thinking along the same ideas of these primula here and bringing texture in with these backgrounds. And then I start to get really into the undergrowthy things with shadows and the way light plays on petals, and really playing with the texture now. Like, I really love this bit here. It's just, yeah, really soft, but with these lines over the top. And then I started playing with paint, which was short-lived. And I wrote here, it turns out I'm a bit too impatient for paint. The thing about paint markers that I love to use, these things, is that they dry really quickly compared to paint, which watercolour especially just seems to take forever for me. And I just don't have the patience for it yet. I think it's a medium that I've not played with for a long time, and now I've got used to the faster drying markers. It just feels like it takes so long. And I love layering, as you can see here. I'm still playing with the light coming through petals, shadows, and once I have an idea in my head, I need to get it down. So the pens, this is layers of Posca and Liquitex acrylic paint marker and Tombow, and I think this is paint here. But this was paint, and it wasn't so successful. So it's a fly. And then again, still working through. So there's shadows in the background. There's more shadows on petals here. This one I didn't like quite so much. I don't know. Maybe I rushed it a bit. But it's a sketchbook. This is what sketchbooks are for. If I'd gone straight into a final piece and done this, I'd be very disappointed. But it's a sketchbook page, so we can turn the page and do another one. I went back to my purple bird again and the blue flowers. This colour combination seems to be quite prevalent in my work at the moment. And colour's something I love to play with, but sometimes I just find something that works and I just use it, so then I don't have to think too hard about the colours I'm using. But I really like this bit, so I did more. I hope you're being able to see the evolution that's going on here, this working out of ideas. And this was another just getting things down page. This is watercolour. I keep coming back to it to try it again and again and again, just trying to get more texture into my work via the pens and the pencils that I'm using. More shadows through petals. And then, you may have seen my last video, the birds I've been working on. So this is where I start to get the ideas for this guy and this guy, doing the bird series. So these, hashing out the colours for the first in the series of the birds I'm working on. I'm working out which bird will go with which plant, and then wanting to make a start, procrastinating about it, so drawing a little decorative border. Yeah, and then I started playing with actually drawing the birds. Now this little wren, I drew her 7 times before I got her right. And these are for the next one. But yeah, we're at the end. And this is the first edition of the wren. I think there was 2 more on this red colour afterwards before I got her right, but I think I'm getting there with it now. Anyway, I hope you found this little look through this sketchbook interesting. Oh, just before I go, so I'll show you this one next time, my next sketchbook tour. But there she is again, that little wren. So yeah, that's how I like to work through things. And I hope you enjoyed seeing the evolution from this and this through to something a bit more confident looking and interesting. I think that's the thing, is yeah, you can definitely see where I was blocked and not feeling very confident, and where things started to really work out for me. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back soon. Take care. Bye.